For sharing that song too, by the way.
Oh yeah, man. I was bummed I didn't send it yesterday, but I've been working on it for a full year.
Yeah.
Um, it's always so disheartening to share a song with someone because like when the initial share, you're like, they're going to hear all 100 tracks of this, everything you did in this song. And it's like, you realize no one has that experience. You're the only one having that experience. So. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So
I'm doing it right now, working on a movie score.
Okay. So. Yeah. So you get it. I mean, it tends to be a lot of musicians or creatives get it. But yeah, I mean, I had a lady come in, and a friend of mine, she played violin, and she plays violin and viola, and she put 80 tracks on the song wow. to make a whole orchestra for me, basically. And then it's buried behind everything, so you can barely hear it.
Yeah, no, I loved it.
So, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, Joshua Colburn, the OriginalSinfluencer. Let's get into it. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So the opening question that kicks it off, and then we go wherever you want to go from here, wherever it naturally goes, is how do you want to experience yourself these days?
Yeah, I've been thinking you screwed me with this question. So I got this question about a week ago, and I've kind of chewed on it for a while. So much so that I've actually gone and like, I won't shut the fuck up. Are you cool with swearing on the podcast on that?
Yeah, we're pretty good with that.
I won't shut up. I am a chit chatter in public. Like I will randomly start talking to you. And so like everyone I've encountered over the last week, I've asked this question and it stumps everybody. It like legitimately fundamentally fucks with everybody that I meet. And it messed with me too, and I chewed on it for a while. But I think for me, as I boiled it down, it landed on two spots. One, authenticity. Like I want to experience myself authentically, and this kind of goes with it. But authentically and then presently. I think the two kind of go hand in hand in a way for me. Where no matter what it is, the emotion I'm feeling in whatever I'm experiencing in this life, I want to be experiencing it authentically, And so like for example, like I think I have a lot of tattoos, and so like I think people who use the numbing cream to get tattoos, I think they're fucking lame, because I think you're supposed to experience that pain. Like it's part of the rite of passage. It's part of the journey of, if you want to be tattooed, you've got to go through that pain,
That's a hot take.
And yeah, I might get, if this is what gets me canceled,
that's gonna be it.
My take on tattoos.
Yes.
That'd be incredible.
Is
after all I've done on the internet, this is the one that's gonna get me gone. But yeah, I think that, and I don't know much beyond that. I think that's kind of where I've landed, though, is presently and authentically. I think those are the two things I've tried to steer my life towards. I look back in my early 20s and I wasn't present. I wasn't very present with myself. I didn't experience my 20s like I wanted to, like looking back now. But it's motivating me now in my 40s to experience my 40s presently and authentically. I mean, there's like gaps in my my memory with my children because I was so focused on what was outside of my experience, my life in that moment. So yeah, there's a lot. I have gone through so many different, like, I guess people would call them phases, things like I kind of immerse myself in a bunch of different things and then see what happens. And I've, throughout the years of my life, I'm finally starting to do that presently, and I'm actually like starting to enjoy myself and enjoy life.
Yeah. So thank you for all the thought you put into that. I could tell that you have been chewing on it for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So the question is kind of the starting point of a coaching model that I do with a lot of my clients, and it really does stump people because most of our concern is with how other people experience us, right? We're kind of editing and presenting and showing up in ways that we hope will garner us acceptance and approval. And I think a lot is missed in just like showing up in the way that you want to experience yourself, Because when everyone else is gone, when the party is over and the lights are shut off and you're just like in your head at night replaying and rethinking how you interacted with yourself and with others, like really all that matters is that you get to be okay with yourself.
Yeah, that's all you have. I mean, for me at least, yeah.
And so a lot of the curiosity that I have about you, of kind of following you for a little bit now on social media, and you know the satire of your account, but then also like there's just so many kind of relatable things for me as a former pastor as well. I'm curious how that value shows up now in ways that it didn't when you were in vocational ministry. And by the way, can we just start with a prayer?
Oh, yeah,
I'm just kidding.
You want me to open us up?
Yeah, just invite the Holy Spirit into this space
Dear
right
Lord,
now.
Yeah. I could do it too. I could switch that, right?
Yeah, I can turn it on and speak that language. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I love this question because it's one, like, not much changed in me in terms of my, like, me as a human and my experience as a human and my love for humans. So I was a pastor for 14 years. I was in professional ministry for 20 of those years, and same church, kind of, which is if you know the church world, that's kind of weird, right? Mm-hmm. Like most people kind of bounce around. And I truly believed in the church and the hope that the church brought. And I felt like I was a part of a place that it might have been not where I wanted it to be, but I thought it was going there. And so stepping outside of the church was part of the evolution of who I needed to become, because I kept hitting a ceiling inside the church and I couldn't grow as a human like I wanted to. I had to stay kind of ignorant in some of my mindset. I had to kind of push some heavy theological things to the side to believe what I believed. And ultimately, when I got to the end of those 14 years, I was barely hanging on by a thread. And my last kind of belief was in the hope that the church could be for people in their lives. And then I saw it just completely turn on itself. This is around like 2016. And I was like, I have to be out. I can't do this. Like my belief system does not line up with the things that I am saying from the stage. Like I don't really believe this stuff anymore. And so, I kind of thought like I could walk around in that world and be that way for a while. But it really, to the authenticity, right? Like it started eating me from the inside out. And I literally thought, I felt so paper thin. I felt like I was a shell of a human and just kind of like walking around going, my life is a lie. Like it's a joke. I don't fully believe in all this stuff, nor do I want to even be like living this life anymore. And so I had to get out. But once I got out, I was afraid that everything for me would change in terms of who I am as a person, because I did kind of like who I was as a person and who I am. And I was also being convinced by some of the church leadership at the time that the things that made me special, the things that made me unique, that made me Joshua, those are going to go away when I leave the church. Like those were God's gift, and that he will take those away. And literally when I remember I made a conscious choice, like I don't believe in this anymore. And I had to reconcile and wrestle with the idea with that I might not be able to sing anymore, or that my voice will not have impact anymore. And I had to come to terms with that. I had to be okay with that. But it was through that process, like, not to sound like cliche and cheesy, like I really was able to evolve. Like I truly had to kind of, it was that leap of faith that I was always kind of trying to do within Christianity, which now I'm finally like, I was standing on that ledge and I was like, fuck, I gotta jump. Like, it did cost me everything.
Was there, so let me go back, because your timeline is eerily similar to mine. How old are you?
I'm 45.
So I'm 43. I started preaching around 14, kind of local Western Kentucky country circuit of churches. But then my first paid gig was, I think I was like 19.
Okay.
Right. So that was, I don't know, 2001. And then done by 2013. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So by 2016, I was completely out.
Yeah.
Like done. So it was around the exact same time. And I remember as well, just for me, it was like seeing the writing on the wall about my first marriage.
Yeah.
Like it was not like I wasn't in it.
Mm-hmm.
I was actively seeking ways to get out of it and to like blow it up. And when that happened in 2016, that was also kind of the catalyst for me to just be like, it's got to be done. Like I remember there was a specific moment on a Sunday morning to where I literally got up off of my knees and it was just like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's the last time I'm doing that. And that's it.
Yeah, that's wild. There might be some serious parallels here in our story because a lot of mine was a lot of me kind of leaving the church was wrapped up into my first marriage as well. And I look back on it now and I call it like the big divorce, right? I got a divorce from my spouse. I divorced my career. I divorced my relationship with God. I divorced my community. Like all of these things was like it happened at once.
Yeah, no, it's the exact same experience with me. I
so
separated
crazy,
from my wife, separated from the church, separated from, all but maybe like 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
Because when you come up and you're like, that is your community. That's where all of your relationships
Not only
are.
that, you've been a part of significant life-changing people too.
Yeah.
And they, so you're held to a different place in a lot of people's minds. So when you start in their mind going off the rails, it starts to put their own faith in an existential crisis.
So what was wild with my experience is not a single person checked.
Whoa.
Not a single person reached out, followed up, asked where I was.
Wow. I'm sorry.
It does hurt.
That hurts.
Thank you.
That's awful.
Yeah.
No one should be treated that way.
Yeah.
Especially knowing what goes into ministry, right? Like when you're in ministry, we do see the side of it that's the cars, the money, all that stuff, right? Like but like the real people doing real ministry are giving up a lot. They're giving up a lot of time with their family. They're giving up a lot of their own mental stability to take that call at 2 a.m. from a congregation member who is struggling, right? Like there's so much pressure on a pastor, and the pastor gives so much of themselves. But when it is time to kind of like question yourself or have those doubts, like you are on an island, you're alone.
Oh yeah.
And I've heard this, from a lot of people that no one checked on them. No one followed up. I had a different experience where they were like trying to win me back, like I was some hot girl. Like it was weird.
I loved the TikTok that you posted. It's like, if you have left the church and someone from your church reaches out and wants to have coffee with you, like, just don't go.
Don't fucking do it.
Just don't go.
It's a trap. It's always a trap. I had that so much. So for me, it was an odd one. The church did me no favors when I left. So when I left, they sent out an email to, I think about it was like 30, 40,000 people, the whole church roster, saying, we need to pray for Joshua. He's having his dark night of the soul. And that was it. Like, that was it. So it created speculation in my community, which I still live in the same community. I would have people coming up to me in public, and because it was weird. I was a little bit of a celebrity at the church. I was the music guy up front, but I would have people come and put their fucking hands on me while I'm out to dinner with my family, right? Like come up behind me, lay their hands on me and just start praying in public. And like it happened multiple times to the point where I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, stop. I don't want this. Like, I do not consent to your prayer. Like, leave me alone. It's so bizarre.
I do not consent to your prayer. That's a good line. So are there any parts of it that you do miss?
You know, the parts of it that I do miss, I'm recreating now. And so like, I loved the music part of it. I did. Like and so for me, part of the healing journey for me was picking up the guitar again and facing worship music. You know, I'll say this. I didn't like worship music even when I was leading worship regularly. Like that was not, I always thought it was corny. But that kind of goes back to, you know, when I was 14 and got in the church, like you, same exact. Well, for me, I was 14 when I got in the church, and started leading. And right at the same time, my uncle was in like a pretty big punk rock band called No Use for a Name. And they were on a record label that I absolutely love, Fat Records, with, you know, No Effects, all these punk rock bands I grew up listening to. And so right when I was becoming a Christian, I was also like becoming a punk rock kid, a hardcore kid, and being accepted into this community. And so I was really always trying to like kind of find the loopholes within Christianity, within my belief system, so my friends could be a part of it too. So I could make Christianity like cooler to them. But it never happened how I thought it would. You know, it ended up always causing more hurt than good. And that's kind of what I realized with my faith, with my belief system, and ultimately with a lot of these churches, is that it creates a false like view of what this thing really is. It's not all like Jesus loves me and feeling good. And so, yeah, sorry, I kind of went on a little rabbit trail there, but back to what I miss. I miss the community aspect of it. But it's all with a caveat, because when I look at the community, it was held up on like a piece of thread. It wasn't real. It was, yeah. And I witnessed that when I took off. I witnessed that and how I was treated when I left, that it wasn't the community that it claimed to be. You know, the church likes to sell itself on being a family. We're a family, you know, but then when you start to have questions, you're not allowed to have your feet up on the table anymore. So
Right.
How does that feel like a family? I can't come into my own home and be comfortable. And so the community aspect, like I miss the mirage of the community, of the church. But that's not much of it. I do miss, I'll say this, having kids and having a place to just like a small group, right? I was really big on small groups. I was always in a small group. And that was nice to be able to talk to other people in the same stage of life and just be like, man, my kid will not stop talking about Minecraft. And I want to punch a hole in the wall, you know? And it's nice to have a place like that. But that, like I said, though, I'm rebuilding that now. Like that's been the beauty of TikTok and social media. And again, it could be propped up much like the church, you know, in a way, but building community that is built off of people who have experienced some similar trauma and are still trying to progress as humans. And I really love being a part of a community like that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the things that I miss, I'm trying to recreate now in my life.
I do miss kind of the built-in socializing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I ever truly felt like and this is not anybody else's fault probably, but I never really felt like, because I was paid, it was a vocational position, I always kind of felt other than. But even whenever I got out, I didn't know how to like just fit in with it.
Yep.
Because like I was, instead of working and, you know, leading, I was just kind of participating like a normal person. And I don't know that I mean, I tried, but I never really kind of, I don't know, I just never felt at home anywhere.
Yeah.
But there was always somebody around, you know. The thing that I miss, and I've missed it for a really long time, and I don't think I can recreate it, is the bliss of certainty. Of just thinking that it was all figured out, and it all made sense. If like your lean out on your own understandings post, like that really resonated with me too, of like the things that I don't understand, you don't need to think about those, just trust, just have faith, just, you know. And it was looking back on it now, it was just kind of like an intellectual, philosophical, and even a theological cop-out to just not struggle and wrestle with the big questions.
Right.
And so just this bliss of just like, it's all Romans 8:28, it's all going to work out to the good because I love the Lord and I don't need to worry about a thing. And but my life never lined up with that. Like, shit wasn't good. I wasn't good. It wasn't turning out good. When was it going to turn good? And it was, I'm telling you, man, it was like there is a pinpoint in time to where I got up off my knees, and it was just like a shift happened. Never doing that again. Yeah. And from that point on, my life has exponentially gotten better.
Same.
Because I just assumed it was entirely up to me. No more waiting on anything else to come and solve it, or to give me the strength, or to, you know, equip me or empower me or lead me. Nope. Entirely up to me.
Nope.
And so then I really took the reins. And yeah, I mean, the parts of me, like you said, the parts of me that I had been taught for years and years and years, that like there's nothing good in you apart from what Christ enables or gives you. So that really, the cracks in that belief happened whenever I became friends with my atheist Iranian friend Hamed, who was the nicest, most patient, most generous, most honest, compassionate, you know, loving person that I had met to date. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. You have all of these fruits of the Spirit, and you don't believe in any of the things that I believed in. So how does that work out? Right. And that was really like my first real close relationship with anybody who wasn't, you know, a Christian from the South. Yeah. You know? And so then that was a really big eye-opening thing for me of like, oh, maybe I'm not going to lose those parts of me that I admire and respect, and the way that I like to experience myself is showing up for people and being kind and encouraging and supporting other people. Right. So all of the parts of me that, other than the bliss of certainty, I feel like I have gotten to hold on to. Yeah. Yeah. You know? That's cool, man. Yeah, you know, I think for the bliss of certainty thing, for me, I answer it a little differently. I look back on my life now and see that I've spent so much of my life professionally knowing what I believed, right? Like, supposed to know what you believe on a professional level, that I'm having the time of my life not knowing what I believe. Like, it truly is one of the greatest experiences I've given myself as a human, because I have allowed my mind to explore the things that I was afraid to explore before. For example, this sounds so lame, but I had a personal, I can never watch a possession movie. Like anything that has to do with like demonic possession. Yeah, no, I get it. Because I thought that shit was going to jump through the TV, right? Yeah, you know, and suddenly my kids have horns and, you know, all this shit. Yeah. And so it was like, I think it was only like a year and a half ago, or maybe 2 years ago, I watched The Nun. Oh, it's a scary movie. It was so fucking scary. And I like it, but it was freeing to push myself, right? Like, I don't think everything is good for us to do, but I do think that some of these areas, it's okay for us to push ourselves in, to stretch ourselves and go to at least form a thought. I know I really don't like that. Or I know I do like that. Or now I know that's fucking dangerous for me because I like it so much. And so, you know, for me, exploring these other things, exploring other religions, I'm framing this like I'm talking about like hardcore drug use, but I'm just talking about dabbling in other religions here. But like, you know, exploring that has been so freeing for me.
because like I said, I felt like I was literally just in a box. I was boxed up and it could not like free my mind and allow myself to explore what the world has to offer. It's incredible. But my grandfather, he was an incredible human being. He just passed about a month ago, and he would leave these notes everywhere. We have hundreds and hundreds of notes from him and all the things that he was learning throughout his life. Really big spiritual guy, like just on a spiritual kick, and came to the conclusion that we are all God. Right? Like he's just such a cool guy. But he was just out there wandering for years, just trying to make sense of it all and finding himself in the process of it. And then going through these notes and realizing like he never even achieved that goal, but he had fun. He enjoyed himself doing it and going, that's kind of what I want to do. Like I want to explore the depths of what this world has to offer. And hopefully come out a better, wiser human being on the other end of it.
So you're touching on, I think, kind of the way that I articulate my spiritual and inspirational values now is I want to experience myself as being open and connected to a sense of awe and wonder.
Yeah.
Like some things I just want to stand in awe of. I don't want to try to explain them. I don't want to try to understand them.
Yeah.
I just want to look at something and say, well, that's well beyond me. And that's good, and I'm going to leave it that way. I'm not going to try to put it in a box of my understanding.
Right.
And then there are things that I do want to wonder about. I want to deconstruct them and try to understand them and put them in ways that I can articulate. And so, yeah, it's interesting that you bring up your grandfather of like he just kind of wandered around open and exploring, and he came to the conclusion that we are all God, which it's not unique to him, right? Like many other people have come to that type of thinking, but I can agree with you that like I do feel like I have a lot more license now, like whereas before questions were threatening.
Yeah, right.
Because what if you ask one that a person can't answer?
And if you ask, and then you're a pastor too, in the sense, when you're a pastor, those questions can wipe out your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing could go away. It's a wild, bonkers world.
Yep.
Do you still believe something? I know that's a really fucking...
I mean...
Quick answers only.
God, no, there's not a quick answer to that. Like in something definite?
Yeah, like I guess, would you call yourself an atheist or would you call yourself agnostic?
Agnostic sounds like it's a cop out, like
it does,
lazy.
Right? I know.
It's but I don't know what else to call it if you need a label on it. So it's like I think one of the things that I learned coming out of the church is that I'm no one to say that there is nothing. Like who am I?
Yeah.
What do I know? Where have I been? What have I seen that would negate or invalidate someone else's lived experience?
Right.
So I never tell anybody, like even I have clients that come into the office now that are still Christian, and I can pull out the ordination certificate that's over there on the shelf and just be like, yeah, I can speak to you from that life experience.
Yep.
And I can validate it and things like that. So no, I'm not one of these people that is on a crusade to try and convince everyone that there's nothing.
Yeah.
So I think I would love for there to be something.
Yeah, me too. I'd be pretty fucking pissed if there wasn't.
Yeah. I would love almost like I'm glad I'm not in the church anymore. Especially the vein of Christianity that I would love for there to be like a Rob Bell type God out there.
Yeah.
Like a love wins.
Oh,
sincerity matters.
I loved Rob Bell.
Oh man.
Love him.
When Love Wins came out, it like divided.
Oh yeah.
My I mean, you were either a heretic, or you were against Rob Bell.
Yep.
When he wrote that book. But the more that I've thought about it, of like, and he's just regurgitating shit that Origin said
Yeah.
1,000 years ago. But I would love for there to be something like that, to where there is some sort of meaning beyond the physical, like what like there's a purpose, there's a, and like some type of retribution or justice for, I don't know, like there's still those things in me that just seek, I don't know, something bigger than me to make it all make sense.
Yeah. I think, for me, I get asked this question all the time. What do you believe? Because, on the surface, if you look at the content that I make, I do a lot of satire. You would think that I'm trying to convince you out of your religion. Mm-hmm. You would think that I'm shitting on your belief system or whatever. But at the core of it, and I tell people this all the time, like you and I could sit down, like if you're a Christian and even if you're a conservative, we could probably see eye to eye on a lot of this stuff, because what I'm fighting for is not the takedown of Christianity. I'm fighting for the misuse of scripture to stop. I'm fighting for people to stop using a book as a weapon to harm people. And I know the book well enough to swing it like the sword they swing it as, mm-hmm. And so a lot of I lost track where I was going there.
I don't take that from your content, that you're trying to take down people's belief systems. But I think that one of the things that we've seen in response to the woman calling around all the churches asking for baby formula is that people are getting so weary of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
All right. And of the church. I don't know if there's a reckoning coming, or just like the way that our political climate, we're sick of politicians, and most pastors conduct themselves like politicians.
Absolutely.
And and so I think the whole thing is on really shaky ground, and I think that's a good thing, because like you said, I mean, the cracks in that foundation of like, okay, my grandparents lived in poverty. I mean, right on the edge of it. My granddad worked, I mean, on broken knees almost till the day he died, to pay, basically to have an income to survive. And they gave 10% of their income to the local church. And I can't say with certainty that was a wise investment, that it actually served, the local community in the ways that it should.
Yep.
So, and yeah, just some of the experiences that I've had working in churches and seeing how budgets are built, and, the salaries and the retirements and the housing allowances and all of the stuff that goes into. And listen, I benefited from it.
Same.
Like I made a decent salary. Mm-hmm. I had a house provided to me. I got tax exemption. I didn't have to pay income taxes on that, because I got so there were a lot of things that I profited from in that. And we had a food pantry.
Yeah.
That if you came on the wrong day at the wrong time, you were turned away.
Mm-hmm.
It was only open at certain times, even though the food was in there, and I had a key to the door. But if you didn't come on Tuesday from 1 to 3, it wasn't open.
Wow. Did you opt out of Social Security?
Yeah.
You did?
During my time as a youth minister.
Yeah.
During my time as a pastor. So I didn't have to pay it.
Yep.
So
a lot of people don't know this, but in the church, as a pastor, you can opt out of Social Security.
That's what I meant by like I got out of paying some taxes.
And it fucks you in the end. Like I mean, I went 20 years without paying into my Social Security, but I was like 14 for me. But I was convinced by a pastor and I was so young and so naive. Looking back on it now, it was just to save the church $200 a month from having to pay into my Social Security.
Yeah.
That, and it was, I look back now and see the whole pipeline on why they wanted me to become a pastor so bad and all this stuff, because they would benefit from it, And so, it's funny because, I took advantage of it, but it is starting to come back. and bite me a little bit. I've got like some sort of weird church investment, like
a 403B or
yeah,
something like that.
And I don't even know how to fucking get anywhere near it. Like I've tried a couple times and it's like, nope. I think it always results in I have to call the church that I was a part of, and I'm like, there's no fucking way I want to call those people.
I could probably have my student loans forgiven if I was to just go back and like get documentation from all these churches that I worked at.
Right.
But again, I don't want to.
Yeah. No.
I don't want to interact with them.
It's that bad. You don't want to go back.
Yeah.
But what I was where I lost my track. I got it back, but where I ended up with my belief system, and this is the fun thing. Like I was saying earlier, I could change it every day if I wanted. Right. Like I could explore something and believe it. But I got to the point. When I first left Christianity, I was an atheist. I was like, fuck God, fuck all this. I don't believe anything. And then I like had a trip on mushrooms, and I was like, oh, I came out of it. I'm like, there's a God. Like we're all connected, all this shit. And,
I was going to ask if your grandpa ever did mushrooms.
He did not, but I tried to get him to at the end there, but he was so like, he loved talking about all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I came out and felt like, where I've kind of landed is, and there's probably a name to it, and smarter people have already probably figured out a whole system with it, and it's a religion, I don't know. But this idea that maybe we were created by something, but like, I'm an artist, and so I'll create a piece of art. I've been working on this song for the last full year of just pouring myself into one song. And I know, because I've had this experience as an artist before, is that song is mine during that time. I have all the time I want with that song. But once it's done and I release it, it's no longer my song. And I can't control how other people take that song, if they like it, if they don't like it, if they like the sound of the guitars, all of this. It is what it is. It's for people to decide. And sometimes I think like maybe that's what this all is. We had some sort of creator put it in place, and it's not perfect. It's not bad. It just fucking is.
So that's, I want to say that there is a word for that I learned in systematic theology. It's kind of like the concept of, yes, there is a divine creator, and he created a top and he spun it. Mm-hmm. And it will keep spinning, but he's not controlling the spin anymore.
Yeah.
So where it spins and what happens to it while it's spinning, he just is the creator.
Yep.
And now he's just sitting back observing. Right. So there is a word for that. I can't remember what it is. I don't know if it's a deist or a theist.
It's whatever. One of those.
But yeah, I mean, the idea of like coming out of the church, I think I was a little bit the same way. Just like I was hurt, I was angry, I was a little bit hostile. I remember like my mom, I had taken my kids to go see my mom, and we were sitting in her living room eating pizza, watching the show, and she just out of nowhere, she's like, I talked to Brother Chad, the pastor at my home church at the time, and she's like, I talked to Brother Chad, and he said, once you're a minister, you're always a minister. I was like, but I'm not a minister anymore. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, once you're called, your calling never expires. Like you're always going to be a minister, Benji. And she just kept pushing. I was so angry, like irrationally angry. I probably owe her an apology, but I told her, I was like, if you say another word about it, I'm taking my kids and I'm leaving. And we had driven 2 hours to come visit her.
Yeah.
And she, one more word. And just like that, boys, let's go. And they were like confused. And I was just so unable to like coexist in a space where like it was okay for someone to think something that I didn't want them to think, because it felt threatening. It felt, I don't know, it was just like a nerve, like a raw nerve that was exposed for many years. And now it's like I'm curious. Like I wonder sometimes, like as I see, like you said, the book and the personality that is depicted in the Gospels being misrepresented and taken out of, literally taken out of context and used as a weapon against people, it almost draws me more to like want to reconnect somehow with with that, with the Gospels, just so that I can just, I don't know, because you separate just Jesus and what he taught and what he did, what's recorded,
Yeah.
out of the rest of the context, and I'm just like, why, that's good shit.
Yeah.
It's all the other stuff that it's used for.
Yep. You know,
that irks the shit out of me.
Same. You know, it's so funny. I say yes, you should go back and look at it, because here, I had an experience. This is right when Trump was elected for the second time here, and he was sitting in a church, and a Reverend, Marianne Buddy, who is, I think she's incredible.
Yeah,
truly.
I remember her speech. Yeah.
And she spoke. She basically pleaded with Trump. She gave the red letters of Jesus straight to Trump. There was nothing different. There was no other scripture given. It was all Jesus. And they threw that woman under the bus so hard. They you know, Trump, I think, said she's like a despicable human being.
Yeah.
All these things. And, you know, it was in that moment I found myself online fighting next to Christians, with Christians going like, yeah, this shit is not cool. And it caused me to go back to the Bible. It caused me, and I started reading all the red letters. I started reading all the words of Jesus again. And it was a weird fucking experience, because it was like visiting an old lover. You know, it was like I was suddenly combing through the words and the ideas that shaped my humanity, that shaped the foundation of me. And fuck, I was so grateful for it. I was like, oh, wow, like, I love you, Jesus. You know, like, but it was a different I love you, Jesus. It was a more like, oh, I understand this a little more now. I have a bigger view of it that I've kind of been able to get out of that space. And it was a really like beautiful reunion that I had with this thing that created a lot of heart in me.
I feel like that I'm in a place, you know, all these years later, to where like I could do that and it could be more personal. That was the thing also, is like everything had to be public. Like, it just, I don't know, like the personality of a vocational professional Christian. But yeah, I mean,
everything's a testimony too.
Yeah.
Like, especially in the personal life. My nephew passed away, and I remember the second I took a week off to go be with my family, and the week I got back, I was up on stage talking about God's goodness through death, you know? And it's like, you find yourself airing out a lot of personal stuff. And it's the church, man, I have a lot to say on this testimony culture in the church. That's how they roped me in. I was some 14-year-old kid who had, you know, some family members who were addicts, and was really kind of on my own, struggling. Like, early 90s, didn't have much supervision. My parents had a commercial that would come on the TV. Do you know where your children are?
Yeah.
You know, like, that's how our folks, that's how they forgot about us.
Lived the same childhood, it sounds like.
And so when I got into the church, all of a sudden I was getting attention because, oh, your parents aren't Christians. Oh, you have a bit of a past. Oh, like all these things. And so at 14 years old, I'm up on stage sharing my testimony. My mom's out there with a fucking camcorder. I'm talking about her drug use, you know, like up on stage. They should have given me a therapist, not a fucking stage. And that's what I needed. Right. Like, and that kind of, that exploitation of your personal life.
Listen, my calling came, I was at a church camp. I was 14. I was at a church camp that I'd gone to every summer. And, you know, the scripture was James 5:16, confess your sins to one another so that you may be healed. The fervent prayer of a righteous man is powerful and effective. And then they gave the altar call, and I was just, you know, at 14, by the time I was 14, I was sexually active, smoking weed, I was drinking alcohol, I was, looking at porn any way I could find it, and just shame filled.
Yeah.
Just covered in shame.
Totally.
Because of purity culture.
Uh-huh.
Mom was severely mentally ill, had abandoned me 4 or 5 years ago, and like my dad did the best that he could, but still like woefully inadequate by my own standards as a dad. But it just like that night I just like confessed everything. I just like went up to the front, took the pulpit, and just like told everything. And the rush that I got from that, of just like the catharsis, and then everyone saying like how brave I was and how courageous that must have been. And not that anyone else shared their shit either, like afterwards, but it was just like they were happy for me to do it.
Yeah.
And then I came home, and the next Sunday was the like church, youth group led church service, and I had been slated to preach.
Mm-hmm.
So I preached my first sermon, and my calling came because I had like shared my testimony in the sermon.
Exactly.
Right. And I'm 14 telling adults I am having sex, I am smoking weed, I am drinking alcohol. CPS should have been called.
Yeah.
Like, I am telling you that I am in danger. And instead of anyone calling social services to have my life looked at, they come and they pat me on the shoulder and say, the Lord is going to use you to do a mighty work in this world. Oh, he's going to do great things through you.
Fuck, man.
And then that was it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do with my life.
I'm getting the chills. I mean, this is my story too, man.
Yeah.
It's that. It's holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Truly.
So then like I went to Bible college. I flunked out of Bible college, drinking and screwing around with girls. And again, but the whole time I was on staff at a little small church as a youth minister, and just no guidance, no maturity, no, it just was, I was just hanging on by a thread for so many years.
Can I ask you a question? Did you have a lot of output? Like, was there a lot of output from you at the church? Were you doing a lot of things for them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I would, I never was a senior pastor. I was always youth group, children's pastor, activities director, recreation. So there was like all these different titles, and just constantly, whether it was putting on, youth revivals, planning youth trips, I was teaching a Sunday school class. My schedule was this: teach Sunday school, go back at 5, do youth group. Sometimes Sunday night I would stand in for the pastor and preach. And then Wednesday I would preach another youth group. And I was preaching. Like, these were 45-minute sermons that I had spent hours studying and writing and rehearsing.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and then also going to schools and having lunches with students and going to their basketball games and then like we, for the last part of it, like our house was on the church property. So I had to like make a joke that I was going to put an open and close sign on the window, because like I had to kick kids out of my house at 10 p.m. during the summers because they just wanted to be over there hanging out, playing rock band and, just hanging out with me and my kids and my wife and all that stuff. And so it was just playing basketball on Saturday afternoons with everybody and, just constantly doing something to where there wasn't a whole lot left of just me. I thinking back, I was like, I didn't do anything really because I wanted to. Yeah, exactly. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Like the currency of your time, of yourself that you give in ministry, you cannot get back. Like, no. And you don't even realize how much you're spending in the moment. No. Like you are, like you just said it, right? You sacrifice that time with your family because, okay, a couple extra hours of having these students over or whatever, that's kingdom work. That's what matters, right? And so you forego everything in your personal life, in your the immediate needs around you, all of it you push aside because you have a kingdom to build. Right. And it's unlike most other professions to where, because it's relationship and it's kingdom work, and like spiritual warfare never It doesn't respect a time clock. And so at any time on any day, somebody might need something from you.
Yep.
Right? Whereas here, fuck, at 4:30, most of my people know, like, you're going to have to call 2 or 3 times or text, like, urgent, emergency. Because at 4:30, I'm done. I'm relieving the nanny and I'm hanging out with my kids.
Yep.
Like, I'm home.
Yep.
That's it. And I don't work on the weekends. So it's just unlike anything else that a lot of people don't understand.
No.
So yeah, let's go back to kind of, I'm sorry. I'm really interested in the fact that, like, it sounds like the values that you hold now, the way that you want to experience yourself. You had said earlier that, like, I want to go back to it because it doesn't sound like you lost any of them. It just sounds like maybe you get to experience them more fully now.
Yeah. You know, we had a brief conversation about the 8 domains.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you were kind of describing that to me, it caused me to think about a little bit about my own personal kind of view of my life. And I only have 4, so you're better than me. You have 8.
I might just have made it more complicated.
Yeah, no, but for me, you know, I always kind of looked at the relational, the physical, the spiritual, and the mental as like, and you're only as good as your slowest wheel, basically.
Yeah.
Like if we're all gears working together. And so that was like when I heard you talk about that was really profound to me. To be like, oh my gosh, like you've flushed it out so much better than I could have ever flushed it out. And so I think, sorry, go back to get.
Well, I just kind of want to acknowledge something. I just did something that I do, and I changed the channel very quickly because I was starting to feel
I'm ADHD.
Exposed.
Oh, you're good.
I was like talking about, you know.
Yeah.
So anyways, I was like, let's just go back to something more intellectual.
No, that's good.
Get out of my feels a little bit.
I get that.
But yeah, so anyways, the 8 domains, the values.
Yeah, I didn't lose any of myself because I felt like when I left, I really was at my limit with what I could become as a human being within the church. And so getting out of the church, all of the things that made me me, I was glad. I was great. I don't have the story of I had to work on not being a narcissist because I found out through, like I have a friend who found out they were a narcissist through leaving the church, you know, like that was kind of their journey. Like I was able to come out of the other side and go like, oh, I was a decent human while I was in the church. I was good to people. Like the people that I ministered to are still reaching out to me saying, thank you. You know, like you were never an asshole. You know?
Well, shit. Maybe that's my problem.
But
maybe that's why nobody reached out, is because I wasn't as good of a person as I thought I was.
No, but back to what I said before, which was getting out of it. Like I didn't know. I thought all those things were like, I thought I was just a bad dude. I just thought I was like, okay, I guess I am all these awful things that, you know, people are saying because I left the church, but none of me, I set a place for me to evolve from. And that's kind of what I want to do in this life, is continuously evolve. You know, talking about my grandpa, as I look at him, I remember the day that man stopped drinking. I was like 11 years old and he had never gotten like angry or violent in front of me. And one day he got really upset and he threw his whiskey glass across the room and it shattered on the wall. And then he immediately looked at me and he said, I'm never going to drink again. And he never drank again.
That's incredible.
Like, and it was like from that moment, I got to observe my grandpa make these changes in his life, and he never stopped evolving. His beliefs, when I talked to him like about his beliefs, they changed every single time, every single conversation, because he was so like just searching and he was so hungry for it.
You know what that makes me think of? Have you ever seen the movie Dogma?
Yes.
So Chris Rock, the 13th Apostle.
Yes.
And they're around the campfire, and this has always stuck with me. he makes the point in that conversation that they're having around the campfire that people have too many beliefs. A belief is something you will die for. He said people need to have more ideas. And I think that's what you're getting at with your grandpa. And that's where I find myself of like wondering and just like, I'm not willing to put a stake in the ground and dig my heels in on many beliefs because I don't have very many beliefs, right? I have a lot of ideas that I like to chew on and think about and talk about and wrestle with, but that's been maybe the most freeing thing of leaving the church and setting aside theology to where like I don't like I said earlier I missed the bliss of certainty because it was easier. It was a little bit lazier. It was just kind of it was so I could just say like, well, there's just some things I'm not supposed to understand, and then that was like a cop out for me to just like not have to deal with it. But now I do a lot more thinking, and I'm less sure about anything.
Yeah.
And because I have more ideas than beliefs.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? You know, I found this specifically with prayer. Like, I was the king of anytime something got hard, you give it to God. You give it to God, right? Like, I'm praying, like, significant things. I had a moment with my son. I coached my son's lacrosse team. I coached my son's baseball team from when he was 4 until when he was 12 years old, both my kids. And then at 12, my oldest said, Dad, and he was a good baseball player too, lefty pitcher, crushing it. But he goes, Dad, I want to play lacrosse. I don't want to play baseball anymore. I go, okay. So the day of, I'm driving him to lacrosse practice, and he's like, Dad, I'm nervous. And I was like, you know what, son? Like, me too. And we get to the parking lot, and I'm in my feels. He's obviously in his feels, and I'm going like I'm playing through every moment I walked onto that. I've never walked onto a field with my kid without me being his coach, and he is now walking out onto a field without anybody. And I had this. It was the first time since I had been out of the church. I had this instinct, I need to pray about this. I wanted to lead my kid in prayer, and I hadn't prayed for 4 years in that way, you know? And so we just sat there and, you know, I gave him some encouragement. I told him about a time I was on a winning team and I didn't know anybody when I first got on the team and how amazing it was. So he gets out of the car and he walks, and I just sat in my truck and I wept. I just cried. And it was that feeling again of I need to go to prayer. And so I was going to go start praying. And then I thought, no, like, fuck that. I need to sit in this. Like, I need to sit in this. And then I started researching this, and there's a term to it. It's called spiritually bypassing.
Yeah.
And
that's what I was thinking, using prayer as an emotional bypass.
Right. Yeah. So this is what I was doing my whole life. I was taking the hard shit in my life, and I was giving it over to God. God, you deal with this. You're in control. And then, and so I finally got to a place where I realized I didn't give any of that away. It's just been stuffed down inside of me. And now it's coming out in harmful ways, right? Like now it's coming out. So it was like back to that story. I sat there, I wept, and I actually had to sit in the discomfort of that moment. But it caused me, because I didn't give it to God, it caused me to immediately reflect on when I was on that winning team, and the how that shaped me as a young human being scared shitless walking out onto the baseball field with a bunch of guys I didn't know, and then flashing forward to us winning the championship and hugging each other and jumping up and down, you know, like that right there is the human experience, and what I need to be reflecting on to remind myself it's going to be okay. Not some distant deity that may or may not hear my prayer. Maybe he did if I said it in the right form of words. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So that spiritually bypassing is so harmful, and so many people do this regularly and never deal with the real things.
It happens every time there's a school shooting.
1,000%. Yep.
It happens every time.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts and prayers. And it's sweet and it's nice and it sounds right. It sounds holy, but it does nothing.
Exactly.
It does nothing. And I think that was the realization that I had the last day I ever prayed was, this doesn't make a difference, and I need a difference.
Yeah.
I've been praying every single day, multiple times a day for 20 years that God would fix this, or God would change that, or this would work out, or that would work out. And like, I don't know that I've ever been able to like pinpoint a time in any of my experiences where I was like, yes, I prayed specifically for that, and without anything that I could have done to impact it, it turned out the way I asked for it to turn out.
Right.
I've always been a part, if not the only part, looking back, of making things happen.
Right.
And so then why am I praying? Why am I spending all this energy and all this anxiety hoping
Yep.
that something is going to come and help me? The emotional bypassing that Christianity promotes through prayer, and and then other things like fasting and serve more, and just give more, and you get into prosperity gospel doctrine of just like, it's so manipulative and so damaging.
It's so damn. I have a good friend of mine who's a creator on TikTok who talks about fasting and how it kicked off her eating disorder.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
and I think that's true for a lot of people.
We would do 30-hour famines.
Oh, I did that too.
Our youth group, to raise money for hungry people, we would cosplay as starving people.
Yep.
For 30 hours.
Yep.
And then we would go have a lock-in at night where we would order pizzas, and then like we just like go from performative fundraising to gluttony, It's wild, man.
Totally.
This whole culture is strange now looking back on it.
Yeah,
it saved my life.
Yeah, fuck, man. So
and it gave me direction, and it pulled me out of a such a dangerous that night after I preached that sermon, and I got all of this validation, affirmation, attention, praise from these adults, that for the first time ever, from adults.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I went all in.
Yeah.
I mean, night and day. Stopped doing everything except the porn and the girls, but everything else, the smoking, the drinking, all of that stuff, just went all in on church, and that saved my life.
Yeah, it sounds like we might be similar in that. I mean, I look back on that now, and I was, it's a powder keg for a 14-year-old who comes from a broken family, who's not getting the proper attention at home, to suddenly, like, I'll tell you what, I've done some cool shit in my life with music. I've played with some of my idols. Like I've been on really amazing stages that are legendary. It's the same fucking feeling as giving your testimony, or as like preaching and having a really good sermon. It's that same attention that is like that. It's an itch that gets scratched. It's bizarre. And I think it's what causes, I know looking back on it for me, it's what caused me to be like, yeah, I'll get up and air out all my dirty laundry on a stage in front of thousands of people, because you get attention for it, and yeah, sure, I'll fabricate a little bit of my story. Like, let me embellish my testimony, because ultimately it's all, from your mouth, you're saying, look how big and good God is. But the truth is, it's like, God is good and big, but I have to be doing something really right in my life for this kind of stuff to be happening.
He chose me.
Right.
For this
He
story.
chose me.
I'm special in that way.
Totally. And it fucks with so many people. And then you have the congregation members that are sitting there who've literally been good their whole life, right? Or who have done nothing wrong, who are just sitting there going like, I wish I had a bad testimony so I could get this attention.
That was that was the tension in youth group.
Mhm.
I remember growing up because I was like this bad kid, redeemed by so much, saved out of such a hellish story. And then there's like poor old little William Blackburn who's never said a cuss word in his life, you know, and he's just like, well, am I really even saved if I didn't have this like gut-wrenching soul, you know, churning experience
Sorry, William.
from dark to light, you know?
You thought about a boob, William.
Yeah.
You're not. You're dead. You're dying now.
Yeah.
So you were wrapped up in the purity culture
God,
stuff?
True Love Waits, Had a Ring.
Oh yeah.
All that
dude,
stuff.
I just found a True Love Waits cassette tape still in the wrapping. I don't know what that says about me.
Yeah, I can't tell you. I was, you know, baptized, I think at least twice, but saved God knows how many times. So I grew up in an Armenian theology.
Okay.
So you could lose it.
Oh.
So the big debate at night was if you didn't pray to ask God to forgive you for all your sins for the previous day, and you didn't clear your ledger, and you died at night, if you had red on your ledger, when you wake up in eternity, where are you going? Because you don't really know.
Yeah.
You know? So you better always ask God to forgive you for all of your sins, known and unknown. We had to put that disclaimer in there as well.
Wow.
So the anxiety of that
That's
is
bonkers.
Especially
right before bed too.
Yeah, no. Yeah, there's no
Let's
wonder
go
why I
through
still
all the bad shit I did today right before bed.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to replay it like, okay, which sins do I okay, I got to remember them all. Well, Lord, please forgive me for all the ones I don't remember too.
Do you want to hear my arrogant, like if I were a pastor, what I would respond to with that?
Yes.
Essentially, you are putting Jesus back up on the cross.
Every single time.
Every single night.
I finished my career as a Reformed Calvinist, so I know that line as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Could you imagine how easy it must be to be a pastor these days with ChatGPT? I think about this all the time. Like you don't have to do shit. You literally can go, I want a sermon 30 minutes long, and it'll fucking do it for you.
I don't know why I'm not on this side of TikTok anymore, but for a while I was on the side of TikTok where it was like the Yeti and the Bigfoot AI clips.
Oh yeah.
Those are
They're
watching
great.
a Bigfoot preach a sermon in in black church style.
It's great.
It was awesome.
It's incredible.
Absolutely.
Watching
I was like, he's really
the gorilla running through the he found a bag of cocaine and mushrooms or something.
Yeah.
He's just tripping balls running through the forest. The Yeti.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So yeah, the whole AI thing would have been a game changer because I would spend for a 45-minute spiel, I would spend at least 8 to 10 hours reading, researching, looking through commentaries, cross-referencing shit on the internet, and then like writing it, rehearsing it, reciting it in front of a mirror, sometimes even recording myself and polishing it up and trying to get the emotion, you know, like that left hook at the end that's going to catch them and really, you know, make them think. Yeah.
Was your secret power metaphor then too?
My secret power was metaphor then too. Yeah.
The power of metaphor.
Oh my God. The alliteration. Dude, the 3 points that all start with the same letter so that it's digestible and memorable in the congregation.
Dude, right.
I don't remember. I remember one sermon out of the hundreds that I've preached. I remember one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I can't imagine anybody else remembers any of the shit that I said.
I only remember like one or two that I did. I think the first one do you know the bridge story?
No, what's the bridge story?
You probably you're gonna like, oh yeah, I've heard this story. But it was like a sermon illustration that pastors would use. And the first time I was ever asked to teach at church, I got up and I just gave the bridge story, which is fucking hilarious, which is basically this bridge worker. Every day he goes to work and his job is to just push a lever and that lowers the bridge so the train can go and then raises the bridge so the boats can go. And he brought his kid to school or to work one day, and his kid's out playing and he's doing his job, and then suddenly he can't find his kid. And so he looks and he sees that his kid is laying in one of the gears of the bridge. Right? Here comes the fucking drama. This is the manipulation and the, oh no. And so the bridge person has to make a decision. Do I save the thousands of people on the train, or do I kill my son, or do I save my son and kill the people, you know? And that's one of the first sermons I ever gave. He sacrificed his son.
Abrahamic metaphor.
Yeah, right. Totally.
Well, it's the trolley dilemma.
Yeah. I mean, they package it in a bunch of different ways. But
so the thing that got me about that I have heard similar things about that. I've always had the thought of like, yeah, but he did all of that. Like, that's what he chose.
Yeah.
Like, it's his fucking story.
Right?
If he's omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, and nothing happens outside of, of his knowledge and will and design, then like sin is his fucking creation. We didn't have a choice. And then like, so I'm bad from the get-go, but it, like, was there no other, like, you couldn't have done anything else?
What a weird fucking system.
It's a weird fucking system.
It really is.
It's a weird and then if like I don't love you the right way, or if I don't say the right type of prayer, or if I don't like, I have to.
Don't forget, you gotta take a bite of his body and drink of his blood once a month or something.
Right?
Like that,
yeah. And so like you throw all of that in there, and if I don't love you the right way, I'm gonna get punished.
Yeah. But or if you do all of that, there's still a chance you could get fucking punished.
Because I might not be in the elect.
Right. So
I might be one of those ones that says, Lord, Lord, we did all of these things in your name. And then he looks at me and says, yeah, but I never knew you. I'm like, well, fuck.
Yeah, you were lukewarm, motherfucker.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right.
Spit you out.
Yeah. So, I mean, just when you break it down like that of like, it's any other relationship that you talk about in these terms of like, you have to praise him and worship him, and you have to like acknowledge that the only reason that you're good and worthy is because he makes you that way. We'd say, girl, get out. Like, you got to leave him.
Yeah.
He's toxic.
1000%.
That's abusive. Right?
Oh my God.
So
if my kids came to me and told me they were in a relationship that had like similarities to God, I'd be like, get out, run, go. But
then there was this this little theological nugget that I learned in systematic theology, and it was just the phrase that God is a gentleman. So I liked that idea, that God is a gentleman, meaning God will offer, but God doesn't demand. So meaning like you can participate willingly in the relationship, but it's not imposed on you. Like, it's not required.
Interesting.
Which is a little bit more palatable for my, like, I don't know, rebellious spirit, as some people might call me on the internet, but of this idea that it's like the God can like his redemption, right? His atoning act is for all.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be some people who get to partake more in that in this life, or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
So, but God is a gentleman. God is not the abusive, narcissistic partner. God is one who just says, like, my love is free. You can participate in it however much you want. It's there. It's on the table. Have as much of it or as little of it as you want. Participate as much or as little as you want, but it's all there for everybody. I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's something I can digest and accept.
Yeah. And then you read the Bible.
Yeah.
And you quickly learn, I don't think God's a gentleman. I don't think that's a good word to describe.
And it's ironic that like the one sermon that I remember is from the Old Testament.
Oh, really?
It's not even a New Testament. It's not even like Paul. It's let alone Jesus.
Yeah.
It's Jacob.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's Jacob in the wilderness wrestling with God.
Wrestling with God.
Yeah.
Trying to change God's mind.
And probably the reason that I remember that is because a pastor, I the second or third time I preached it was at like a private Christian school's chapel, and the pastor who I had gone to school with, I respected him a great deal. He was a really, really good guy. He came up to me and he said, "That is the most powerful sermon I have ever heard in my life."
Huh.
And I was like, "Oh." And so then that seared in my ego.
Yeah, of course.
And so that's probably the only reason I remember that one.
That was your calling right there.
I was well into it.
Yeah, well, that was the little
the
hit that you needed to go, yeah, I'm doing the right thing.
It's why people who aren't very good at golf keep going back to play golf. It's because every once in a while you hit a good one.
Really, truly.
And you get that little rush, that little dopamine hit. I was like, maybe I could do this some more.
Oh, totally. Did you teach a lot of Paul? Like, were you a big Paul guy? I can't stand Paul. I fucking hate him.
I don't think I did. I towards the end of my career, ironically titled it the Jesus season, to where for like the last 6 months of my ministry and like my work in the church, I only taught red letters.
Nice.
It is all I focused on.
Yeah.
And that felt better.
Yeah,
felt a lot better.
That seems to be the pipeline of deconstruction, right? Like,
is when you really start paying attention to what Jesus said.
Yeah, right. Oh shit! I've been hearing these words my whole life, and now I'm actually starting to digest them.
Yeah.
And wow, what have I been doing? Oh,
yeah,
man.
and that's one of the things that I've seen kind of emerge in social media is like people talking about how most people in the church don't follow Christ's teachings. They follow Paul's teachings.
Yeah, dude. And Paul was so fucked up. I mean, none of us are fucking Corinthians. Why are we listening to Paul's letters?
Right.
Like, it is.
Well, it's because in 300 something AD, in a room full of people who had never met Christ or Paul,
Yep.
they decided
Yep.
that those were the books that were right.
Yep.
And then they decided on the inerrancy of those books. Like, those were the ones that you could not question.
Yeah.
You just had to somehow make them all fit together.
Yeah, I started to hate Paul through, like, I started to look at his, like if you look at Paul's sexual ethics, they are fucking bonkers, but then you frame it with what he was doing at that time, and it all starts to make sense. And then it should make more sense to us on why we don't need to be reading Paul's letters and going and applying it to our daily life, which was Paul was writing under the lens that Jesus was coming back any fucking moment. Like, he literally thought he was going to see Jesus in a couple days. And so he's saying, like, don't go out and get married, don't procreate, don't do any of these things, because you don't have time for that. Jesus is going to be back, like,
you gotta
any
save as
moment,
many as possible,
right? You know, and so it's like, forego everything. So if we're like people who love the teachings of Paul and like apply these teachings to their life, truly are, it is such a misguided time where he is literally thinking Jesus is coming back and telling all people to act accordingly. And then Jesus never came back, you know? And it's like, huh? Like,
yeah, I know, we're still waiting.
And now we're taking Paul's words and saying, no, this is like Jesus's words. They hold more power than Jesus' words in most churches these days. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I like how we said we were going to kind of maybe talk about deconstruction today, and then
that's all we've talked about. But that's okay, because
that's great.
Because when we talk about like the 8 domains, I've had, fitness coaches and fitfluencers on here. I've had therapists on here to talk about the emotional and the mental, and I've had people, who've been married for 40 years or whatever, talk about their relationships to their wives and things like that. And I haven't had but one so far episode where we've almost exclusively talked about this spiritual inspirational domain of, so the next step, if I could just borrow you for another few minutes here.
You keep me for you paid for me to come out here, dude. You keep me for as long as you want.
Don't tell everybody
I'm
that.
good. Oh, sorry.
This is not a paid actor. he's here willingly. But anyways, so the second step in the 8 domains coaching model, after identifying your values. So your values, as articulated, where you want to experience yourself as present and authentic and open. It sounded also like to where you are constantly evolving and accepting and learning. Okay. So then the second part of that is like, well, how do you keep yourself in line with that? How do you align behaviorally? So one of the things that I say all the time is like our mental health, especially, and you can say that about physical health and spiritual health or whatever, our relational health requires that we agree with what is true. Okay. So if you have values, that's your truth. Those values are what are most important to you. So how do you agree with them? And not just an intellectual exercise of saying, yes, they're right, but how do you make them right? How do you materialize them and live those values? Essentially, I call them investment strategy. So how do you invest in your values in that domain?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is the investment is the evolution for me. Like the commitment to evolution is the investment. All the things around me are kind of the bumpers, so to speak, to keep me in that line, to make sure I'm not stepping out of that. For example, I have to set parameters for myself as a creative person to only do creative things at certain parts of the day. And then as a person who lacks discipline due to his disability, like I have ADHD and dyslexia. And so those things are constant war inside of myself. And so like I have to set up these things in my life so I can make the main focus my being true to myself, being true to my art, being true to my parenting style, being true to how, and when I say being true, I mean authentically and presently. You know, when I show up for my wife, I know that there are things that I have to do in my day that happen way before the actual action. Like for example, I'm jumping all over here. If I don't take all of my supplements in the morning, right? Like I know that I'm going to be a shit human being to my wife that evening. I will not be as present. So it's staying true to the things in my life that keep me on that track. And anytime I deviate from that, that's when I get off that track, and that's when my creativity lacks. That's when me being a father lacks. That's when me being a husband lacks, a good friend, a teacher, you know, all these things. And so it really is in the structure that I set up around me to keep me in this flow, I guess.
So what you're saying is you have to take care of yourself in order to be able to take care of others.
Yes, 1,000%, which is a new thing for me.
Well, it's a new thing. And if again, maybe you and I can resonate, but like, you know, that all the church signs that I've seen, love God, love others, love God, love others, you know, it's that simple. Just keep it that simple. Love God, love others. And then they leave out a very important third part of that, which is the teaching was love God and then love your neighbor as you're loving yourself. So the precondition on how well I actually authentically and genuinely show up for my family, my friends, my employees, my everybody, is going to correspond to how well I'm taking care of myself, right? And so when I'm coaching people, I talk about like your recipe, like what does your recipe of a healthy you look like? And you're talking about supplementation and like structure and routine and timing and like being aware of your values and, you know, investing in them appropriately. And that's what we talk about in therapy, or that's what we talk about in this podcast sometimes, is like you have to know not only what your values are, but like what are the behavioral reference that keep you in line with those values. Because if you don't have those behaviors in place, those routines and those structures and, you know, all of the above, you're not going to be well.
Yep.
And
truly.
So I know that whenever I'm going through, a depressive state, or I'm anxious about something, and I am just stuck inside my head, and I'm not in sleeping well, or maybe I'm not watching the things that like I eat. Maybe I'm drinking a little bit more than is reasonable at times, or whatever, because I'm just so, down or miserable. I'm not good for other people.
Yep.
Right. And so then I really have to keep an eye on that. I have to make sure that, like, oh, okay, tonight is not a night. Like, I'm hardly drinking anything these days.
Yeah.
Because I just don't feel like, I know that this is not an emotional state in which I should be drinking. So I don't.
But it takes a huge amount of awareness to get to that place, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like I know for me, my wife has chronic Lyme disease, and it messes with her body. It messes with her mental state. It fucks a lot of things up. And so for the longest time, there would be like a time in the day where we would always just kind of like bicker at each other. And I realized, like, she's not changing anything. Like, her Lyme disease, her person is doing what it does. Like, I need to fucking change me. Like, I need to make sure I'm a little more alert and a little more aware at this time of day. And that's what kind of led me to start looking into supplements and going like, okay, well, what can I take to like support myself so I can support my wife? And holy shit, it made the biggest difference in the world to our whole family, And so getting used to that idea of, as cheesy as it is, as cliche as it is, you really do have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can put the oxygen mask on your kids or anybody around you.
Yeah.
Because if you can't breathe, then they can't, like it's.
But see, that's kind of going back to like that programming that you get coming up in the church is like, you're not taught that. You're taught to sacrifice yourself. The last will be first and the first will be last. You need to put others above yourself and before yourself and just serve.
Yep.
And just serve and serve and serve and serve. And I, like that is just not the way that it's actually taught.
Yeah. And that's not actually the way that the world works.
No.
Or humans.
No.
Yeah.
But that's the way the church stays in control.
1,000%. It is
by convincing you that the problem is that you need to do more for others.
Yeah, if you think about it, the church really could we don't go to the hospital every week to check up on ourselves. We go when we need to go to the hospital, right? Like, and I think churches have flipped it in this way that they're like saying, no, you are so sick, you have to come here every week. But then when they get there, they're fucking poisoning them to keep them sick. It's this gross cycle. And leave 10% of your money on the way out. And you're a bad human, so come back next week and we'll tell you how to be a good human.
Right.
But then they end that message with, you're a bad human, come back next week. It just keeps you just a little bit sick to keep needing it.
All right. So last question is, how do you deal with the people who want to argue with you on social media? As someone with a pretty good following, you get a lot of views, you get a lot of comments.
Yeah.
The people who want to...
It kind of depends on my state of mind. Like sometimes I'll be like in bed at 2 a.m. and I'll just be, my gummies have kicked in and I'm just like super high. And I'll just leave some random comment, just to fuck with someone. And I know the language and the game well enough. So I kind of have, we have a couple different like personalities online, right? It's weird. We don't know what to do with ourselves. We've created a universe that all doesn't connect sometimes, but we have Tristan and Sage, who are our satirical Christian influencer.
Has Turning Point reached out to give you your spot on stage yet?
We keep hitting them up.
Damn.
Like I might have to go straight to Erica Kirk herself. So, but maybe she'll give me that hug that she gave JD Vance.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I mean, I could go for a little.
I don't have hair, but like a little not light fingernail on the scalp. That's
what I want.
Yeah.
But so Tristan and Sage, I usually only, and this one's hard. This is actually, out of all the responses I have to give, Tristan and Sage are the hardest because I always try and respond in character. And so, but you know, we get a lot of comments that are like, this is so healing. Thank you so much. And my go-to comment is like, that sounds like idol worship, turn or burn, you know, like, and so, but sometimes you have really like earnest people that are like, hey, I've had a, you know, share their story. And then I'm like, fuck, do I want to be Pastor Tristan in this moment? You know? So usually I'll say something funny and then send them a nice message or something like that. Then there's the comments that really actually get to me.
Which ones?
The comment that gets to me the most is, you were never really a Christian. And I hear this all the time, and it is like watching a flashback of my life on my knees as a 16-year-old boy, as a 21-year-old on Warped Tour, trying not to fucking sin. You know, because there's all these women around and trying to be a good Christian boy. And I looked at a woman lustfully. So now I'm on the floor of my hotel room, crying myself to sleep. You know, like, these are the things that I went through as to be in your fucking club. And now you have the audacity to tell me I was never really even in it, that I was a fake version of that. Like, no, fuck that. Like, I went through way too much. And it's I think it's probably an immaturity in me that I should be able to look at that and go like, nah, man. But there's something about that comment that really gets under my skin, because I want to be like, bitch, I have torn more Bible pages flipping through it than you have ever read. You know, like, I just, like, it's this arrogance in me of like, I don't think it's fully in it.
No, I'm going to push back on that. Now this is therapist Benji showing up. So you haven't signed a consent for treatment, but I'm going to push back on that. That's not arrogance and it's not immaturity. That's valid hurt. That's valid, because there's a whole life that meant something.
Yeah.
It was a whole life of emotion, of relationships, of literally sweat and tears and passion and identity. And that mattered.
Yeah.
Like, you were a human being just trying to be sincere.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And for someone to say you weren't really invalidates and negates your humanity for those years. Like you weren't really real.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't even really exist in the way that you experienced yourself as existing.
Right.
And so it's like, and I'm not equating what we've gone through to like sexual assault or combat veterans, but like, it's like looking at someone saying, who's been sexually assaulted, and saying that didn't really happen. Like, you were probably asking for it. Or a combat veteran saying, well, it probably wasn't even that bad. You probably never even saw XYZ or whatever. And like, you don't get to tell me what my experience was. You don't get to. So I think that is a righteous anger that you experience, because someone is, now whether or not you can get to a place to where you kind of like don't let it affect you as much. But I think that it's not immaturity. It's not a flaw of yours. It's just indicating that there's still pain there, and that pain matters.
Yeah, it does feel like it's pressing on a bruise.
Yeah.
You know, when someone does that. And it really, that even like because my wife is Asian, and so we get a lot of racist comments too, you know, which is, it's awful, but that comment we are able to deal with and process in a different way than the you were never a Christian one, for at least for me. And I know that I'm saying that from a place of privilege. I'm not Asian, you know, but she gets, we've had a lot of conversations, because my wife she wears everything kind of on her heart. She's so beautiful and just such like an incredible human being, that when someone like is awful to her on the internet or mean to her, it's shocking, because you're like, wait, whoa, what the fuck? Like, no, you don't understand who you're talking to. Like, you're talking to an incredible human being here who would literally do anything just to make sure you weren't uncomfortable in life, you know? And so those are hard for me to watch, the comments where they kind of wear on her. For the most part, all the other comments I kind of get off on in a little bit of a weird way, like, because it shows me that it's working.
Yeah.
Like, and I've we've had a few instances. I had a video. This one was a tough one. We had a video. I had just gotten off of a shift at work. I'd worked like 12 hours in a warehouse. I looked like shit. I was in Walmart. And this was a couple years ago. Target had just, like, people were all up in arms saying Target was promoting kids trans swimwear. And so I was making commentary on that in a Walmart, being a complete jackass, only expecting this one thing to get to my audience, right? Like, and so there was a Rugrats shirt with a bunch of like the female characters of Rugrats in a car. And I looked at the shirt and I said, women drivers, or look, we should boycott Walmart because they're promoting women drivers. Pure ignorance, right? Like, if you know me, you know that I'm not like misogynistic, like all, but this video went 26 million fucking views.
Oh my God.
26 million views. And okay, I'll break it down. A quarter of the comments were, "You're fucking ugly. Like, cut your hair." Like, why? Like, are you responding to this comment from your mom's basement? You know, just fucking brutal. The other like quarter is like, "You're a fucking sexist asshole." Right? And I'm like, wait, what? No, like, you don't understand. The other one's like, you know, my crew of like, yeah, this is funny, ha ha ha. And then this other like group of people that are like, oh, so who got it, who understood the joke and are now demonizing me for supporting trans children. And it was like the whole fucking internet turned on a video that would not stop. It would not stop growing. I think when it hit 1 million, we were like, whoa, this is crazy. This went to 1 million. And then I woke up the next day and it was at like 13 million. I'm like, what is happening? This is weird. So we've kind of gotten thrown in the fire. We've had like maybe 15 videos go over 1 million views. And anytime that happens, you get on all sorts of weird sides of TikTok. And we've had letters, actually handwritten letters sent to our fucking house of people like finding our shit online. And it's weird. So you kind of have to like I said, the one comment that fucks with me is, "You were never a Christian," because that makes me want to give my whole testimony. But all the others are pretty like, you're a fucking idiot.
I have I don't know, maybe a psilocybin fueled rant. I'm not on drugs right now. Haven't been in a really long time. Be. But I had this thought when you were like, yeah, you know, you were never really a Christian. And I'm just like, well, what is that?
Yeah.
What is a Christian? Well, the Bible says that they'll know that you are Christians by your love. And so that's where I go back to like Origin and then Rob Bell of like, love wins.
Yeah.
I know so many people who would never darken the doorstep of a church, who are more loving than the vast majority of the people that I knew while in the church.
Yeah.
They're more generous. They're more altruistic. Like, they really genuinely don't do it for out front.
Yep.
For performance. They're just quietly just sweet, good, generous, loving people.
Yeah.
You know? And maybe the grand joke of life is going to be that if there is an eternity and we all wake up, all of those, Lord, we did all these things in your name. And he's like, well, I never knew you because you didn't really do it in love.
Yeah.
You did it to try and impress me.
Yep.
Or you did it to try and impress others. Or you did it to belong to a club. Maybe that's going to be the grand irony that creation gives us in the end.
As you said that, you know, I'm reflecting on I've spent about 4 years in the deconstruction space on social media. And I'll say this community, for the most part, is full of very smart, intellectually and emotionally intelligent people who really cared about what they were learning. They really cared about the words of Jesus. They took their Bible so serious that they read it.
Yeah.
And they took it so serious that they know it, and it caused them to have to leave that community. And I think that says something a lot about the journey, right? Like, and time and time again, I meet these people I have thousands and thousands of comments and messages weekly from people that are healing and doing the work, but I'm finding they're a certain breed of people, and that's intellectual, kind, people who are driven by loving humanity and still care very deeply about the human experience.
And they find ways to be of service, and they find ways of taking care of people that isn't transactional. Like I remember being pressured. We would have these after school hangout things, or like we would have pizza parties or whatever, but you didn't get the pizza until you listened to the sermon.
Oh.
Or we would go to the soup kitchen, and like the homeless people would have to come and sit in a room and listen to the sermon before they could eat. But like you had to do something to qualify for your basic needs being met by this Christian organization.
So fucked. We did missions trips.
Oh my God.
Poverty tourism.
Yeah.
And same thing. We would go to a village that obviously was in need, and we would load up all the shit in the middle of the street, and everybody would be stoked, right? Coming around, they're about to get food. They haven't had food. And it's like, nope, you got to watch us do this fucking mime to Lifehouse's. What's that song?
I did it too. Shut up. We did it too. Oh my God.
Like, could you imagine just being fucking starving, haven't eaten for days, and you have to watch this?
A bunch of white kids
dance
dance
around to a
shitty rock song. Yeah. God.
So fucking bad.
You don't know anything about that, do you?
Lifehouse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the name of the song? You're all I want.
You are all I want.
Yeah. Have you seen the Christian pantomime or mime to the? Yeah. Oh God.
Which is funny because I think they stole that from there was like a drug-free one Dare used to do to Total
really?
Eclipse of the Heart.
Oh.
And it would have like, and it was so dramatic, and it would have this girl, and she would like go around and dance with all these drugs. Like you'd wear a sign that said like cocaine, and she'd like dance with cocaine. And then the last dance was with the Grim Reaper.
You have to be on drugs to come up with that.
Truly. Right.
All right. Well, man, Joshua, thank you so much. Is there anything we didn't get to say? Anything that you want to plug or promote, or all of our 11 viewers on YouTube need to hear
out
about?
the page.
Yeah.
You can pretty much get through all of our stuff through the OriginalSinfluencer.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And then the truth is, for me, everything that I do, I want to continue my career as a musician.
Yeah.
And so I do write a lot of music. I do make a lot of music. And I haven't figured out the way to promote that on social media without it just either getting like taken down or having to start other accounts. So, but yeah, if you're interested in any of the stuff that I'm doing, you could kind of reach out to me at OriginalSinfluencer on any of the social media platforms. And I'm pretty responsive. I actually respond.
You actually are.
I know. My downfall is I'm responsive up front, and then I suck. Like if someone asks me a question, I'll be like, I got to get back to that question. That's important, and then I never do. So that's my downfall.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, you were very responsive, surprisingly so. Like I reached out. I have reached out to 3 or 4 other people about the same size of your account, around that 100K mark. And you and Evan Slaughter, the Fit to Serve on social media, like you two are the only ones that I didn't know personally who have reached out. There's been a couple of others who kind of have bigger accounts, but I've known them personally through jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was very gracious, very kind.
Oh, no, I was
such
stoked.
a cool surprise for that you did respond and were game for it. So thank you.
It's such an adventure. Real quick, I know we're a little long, but
no, go ahead.
I just went and visited. I met my best friend on TikTok, and we're like best friends in the whole world. We had toured together at different times in our life without knowing each other. We were on Warped Tour together and all this stuff. And I flew up to his place for his birthday. I'd never met him in person. The lady that he lives with is an incredible leathersmith, like a world famous leathersmith. And so I found myself within like 3 hours of landing in this place, walking through the woods with my friend and this girl who's a leathersmith, and she has like a pair of shears, and I'm thinking like, what have I done? What situation have are they going to fucking harvest me for leather? Like, is that what I'm, so like, but I don't know. I'm up for the adventure. I'm like, yeah, I'll just fly out to Nashville for a couple days.
Sit in a room with a couple of strangers and just talk about life's deepest meanings.
And you haven't murdered me yet. Like,
I don't plan on it.
That was my wife's biggest concern. So I'm glad that hasn't happened.
Well,
thanks
you're the second one that I've convinced to take a chance on coming and having a conversation with a stranger. So hopefully more people will maybe see that I am sane and normal and safe, and you don't have to worry about being murdered or turned into a purse.
It was weird that you made me send pictures of my feet in before.
Well, I mean,
but
I've got to get something out of this.
It's true.
All right, well, let's close with a prayer.
All right. I dialed. You got to hang up, bro.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Awesome.